Hey, what is up guys? BTR Designs here, and today I'm going to be doing my first tutorial, which is how to create a Twitch overlay. But before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to a good friend of mine named Chris, also known as Simple, and I did a YouTube revamp for him before. You might see a speed art of it on my channel. It's a 3D yellow themed YouTube revamp, so I might put his link to his YouTube description for sending me this really good mic so that I can make these tutorials for you guys. So thank him so much. So go to his YouTube channel and show him some love. So first off, we're gonna go ahead and start by showing you the dimensions of my file right here, pixels, and it's 1280 by 720 with a 72 resolution. And you can just make it yourself, but I always use Rated Designs template only because of the guides, because he has a guide in the middle and a guide on the left and right and the top and the bottom. So I like his guides because it keeps everything nice and clean, and I like doing my overlays symmetrical, so whatever's on this side is on this side. Depending on what the client wants, I'll usually do it mostly symmetrical. So let's go ahead and get started by doing the shapes first. So I'm going to go ahead and create a layer, and I'm going to name this shape 1. And I'm going to go ahead and create a shape. I'm going to use the pen tool. So a lot of people don't know how to use the pen tool. It's a very hard tool to learn how to use, but I highly recommend that you learn how to use it, not only in Photoshop, but if you want to be an illustrator, like some of the logos that you've seen me do and stuff like that. I use Illustrator and I use the pen tool a lot. So I highly recommend that you guys learn how to use the pen tool, because it's a crucial tool in designing if you want to be a designer. So let's go ahead and get started by making these shapes. So make sure your pen tool is selected and start making your shapes. I usually hold shift to make sure that the lines are nice and straight. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my shape like this. And once you have your overall shape that you want with your pen tool, you want to go ahead and right click and make selection, and make sure anti-aliasing is on and zero feathering on your pixels. Now that we have a selection now, make sure your layer, your blank layer, shape 1 is selected in your layers panel, and then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to make a blue overlay. So this is in my foreground color, so I'm going to press Alt backspace, and if you want to use your background color, you use Control backspace, which is this white right here, but I'm going to go ahead and stick to my foreground color, which is my blue that I want to use. I'm going to press Control D to deselect. Now I'm going to go ahead and create another layer and name this bottom shape. And I'm going to go ahead and add a nice little white shape on the bottom. Right click, make selection, and I'm going to use my background color, Control backspace, and it's nice and white. So now that we have these two overall shapes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these layers in my layer panel, and I'm going to press Control J to duplicate them, and I'm going to press Control T to free transform, and I'm going to right click and put flip horizontally. And then let's go ahead and move it over like so. Press enter. And when I press Control H to hide the guides, you can see it looks like one overall shape, like if I just made it right off the bat, but it's really just a mirror effect from this first side that we did. So I'm going to go ahead and put the guides back on, and we're going to go ahead and start adding the texture. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and go to the two shape layers in my layer panel, and we're going to go ahead and merge those. So that'll go ahead and make the blue one shape, and then the bottoms will be individual layers. But I'm gonna go ahead and rename these and name this top shape, name this bottom shape number 1, and this one bottom shape number 2. Now that we have that done, we're gonna go ahead and start with the layer styles in the top shape, the blue. And I have Photoshop CC 2015, which they enable us now to add multiple strokes, multiple layer styles over a layer style. But I'm not going to do that for the sake of this tutorial, just because I know some people don't have the Adobe Photoshop CC 2015. If they have CS6 and CS5, they'll still be able to follow this tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Inner Glow. I'm going to add a nice light blue. I'm going to put the opacity at 45 and the choke at 3 and the size at 8. And I'm going to go ahead and now add a gradient overlay, and I'm going to put the blend mode to overlay. That way, whatever color is on your current shape, it'll make the bottom dark and the top light. If you want the top dark and the bottom light, then you can press the little reverse, but I usually put the dark on the bottom. And I'm going to keep the scale at 79 and the style at linear. And I'm going to go ahead and real quick add a drop shadow to this. I'm going to put the opacity at 55, and I'm going to mess around with the distance like that. Put the size around 3, and that should be good with a black drop shadow. I'm going to press OK on that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add textures to it using brushes. So I'm going to go ahead and add another layer above the current shape layer that I'm on. I'm going to rename this texture. Right click, and I'm going to put a clipping mask on it. So whatever I do on this layer, it's going to be just on this shape layer right here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my brushes. I'm going to find a nice splatter brush. You can use whatever brushes you want, but I'm going to go ahead and use a nice splatter brush. And I'm going to use my bracket keys to scale down the dimensions of the brush, because most of the brushes that I get, whether they're free or paid for, they usually come in high dimensions, like 4,000 pixels. So you might want to use your bracket keys to lower the scale down. So I'm going to go ahead and add some textures to this, but I'm going to use a lighter blue for this. I'm going to start adding some brush effects to this. Never use just one brush. If you have like a brush pack like splatter or something, use a variety of them. That way it looks a lot better. You don't just have multiple, just one brush spread around everywhere, and because it'll mess up the design totally. So let me go ahead and add some brush effects to this. And I'm going to add one more brush just to make sure I have a little bit more variety into the texture of it. Like so. So now that we're done with that, I'm going to go ahead and change the blend mode. You don't have to do this. You can stop right there. It looks perfectly fine the way it is, but I usually like to put it on either overlay, or I put it on linear dodge, which makes it brighter, and I just lower the fill to about maybe 60%. Just to make it, blend a little more with the background. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the text. I'm going to add a text, make sure the top layer is selected, and then I'm going to go ahead and click right here. Change the text size to about 8. And I'm going to put welcome to my stream. I'm going to change the color to white so you can see it. I'm going to change this to Gotham. This font I'm going to use is called Gotham. I'm going to use bold regular. I don't know. I think these are fonts that you have to pay for. I believe I got them from one of Rated Designs packs. I'm not sure where I got them, but they are really good for just simple text to put above in banners or Twitch overlays. So I highly recommend that you get the Gotham fonts. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more text, and I'm just going to put my name. I'm going to put BTR Designs. And I'm going to change the font to Longshot. Again, this is another font that you might have to pay for. I believe it's free now. I've seen it free in some areas of the internet. I will try to find it for you guys and see if I could put it in the description. Like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mess with the horizontal spacing of the text. And I do this by using the character menu right here. If you don't have this shown, go up to your top and press window and choose character, and you should be good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lower the spacing for BTR designs. I'm going to put it to about 22. And I'm going to select the welcome to my stream, and I'm going to lower it to about 6 pixels, and I'm going to mess with the horizontal spacing so that it lines up with the text below it. I'm going to move that into place like so. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add social icons to this. I use Rated Designs social icons mostly because he has a lot of the logos for sponsorships that Call of Duty players usually have, so it really comes in handy for me for most of the clients that I currently get. So that's why I use his pack. But I'm going to use the YouTube play button, and I'm going to use Twitter. I'm just going to drag those over there. Make sure they're both in my line of view. I'm going to use the Twitter one first. I'm going to press Control T and scale that down. I'm going to put it up here. Enter. Now I'm going to add some text. I'm going to put, using Gotham bold, I'm going to put follow me on Twitter. I'm going to drag this over. A little too big, so I'm going to go ahead and change the size to about 5 and mess with the horizontal spacing. There you go. Now I'm going to put another text and put at the battle TR. That is my Twitter. I'm going to go ahead and higher the opacity of that, the size of that. And I'm going to drag it over like so. Now I'm going to put the YouTube play button up there as well. Scale it down. I'm going to scale down this Twitter one over here. It's way too big. Whoops. Like so. Now for to make it a little bit faster, I'm just going to select the follow me on Twitter and the add battle TR text, Control J and Control T, and drag it over to this side so it's a lot faster. And instead of follow me on Twitter, I'm going to put subscribe on YouTube. And then I'm going to put / BTR designs. And I should be good right there. Now I'm going to move this play button over a little bit. It's a little cluttered. And finally, I'm going to add a quick glow in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new layer down here all the way on the bottom and name this glow. And I'm going to go ahead and select a soft brush in my brush panel. Make sure it's a blue to match the color scheme. Use my bracket keys to kind of get it to the right size that I want. Excuse me. And I will go ahead and start painting some blue behind it. And then I'm going to mess around with the opacity of that so it's not too bright. And if you mess up, I highly recommend that you don't use the eraser tool to delete some of the areas. If you want to delete something, I always use a layer mask. So a layer mask is just a mask over it. You use a black brush to take away something off of whatever layer you put the layer mask on, and white to bring it back. If you use the eraser tool, it will never come back unless you take back a couple steps, but Photoshop can only handle so many steps back. So you might not be able to bring back that specific part later. So I highly recommend that you use the layer mask rather than using the eraser tool. I never use the eraser tool, to be honest. So that is a very good tip for you guys. So once you have that, that's pretty much it. That is how I do my Twitch overlay. You can also add more shapes on the side. You know, if you have a little bit more social media, you can also add stuff on the bottom like currently music playing and stuff like that. But that is the whole basic idea on how I do my Twitch overlays. If you guys have any questions, please leave it in the comment section. And I'm doing tutorials now, so if you have any tutorial ideas and ideas for me, then go ahead and put it in the comment section. I do have experience with most of the Creative Cloud, also Cinema 4D. So if you want to see any kind of animations, intros and stuff like that, tutorials on how to do stuff like that, then I am more than happy to do tutorials on that, depending on time consumption and my client orders. But this is my first tutorial, guys, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of this in the future. I will be doing a lot more of this, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.